because the guy's knocking down a shit ton of three-pointers, right? Yeah. Jordan, just go live now. Just put them high. This is good. I don't want to waste this. You know what I mean? We're having a good conversation.
I agree. I should record everything I say moving forward so we don't waste it. Really poorly.
All right, so Stephen Curry wins the MVP. He wins it because he's a legitimately elite three-point shooter, right? Just absolutely deadly.
Yes.
But in the end of a game, you don't want him posting up against Joel Embiid just because he was a two-time MVP. So I hear what you're saying about Giannis. Like, okay, well, Giannis, he's the two-time MVP. He feels like he has to do it. No, Curry in no way, shape, or form is going to feel like he needs to post up against Joel Embiid for 3 straight possessions. So I don't want Giannis taking above the break threes with 2 minutes left in the game, down by a possession or two. Make sense?
No, obviously that is a ridiculous comparison.
Why?
Because no one's trying to post up more. Everyone's trying to shoot more threes. There's a difference there.
You cater to your skill set. Giannis got to the basket with ease every opportunity he had yesterday. Stop taking threes. It is the weakest part of his game, right? The weakest part of his game, along with free throws. But it is the weakest part of his game. So that's why I'm saying take the weakest part of Steph Curry's game, put him in an inopportune or a disadvantageous position. You would never want him doing that just because he was the MVP and feels like he has to.
Now, and to be clear here, I am not advocating for Giannis to take more threes. I'm just not surprised that he does it because of his stature in the league.
All right, I'm throwing this tweet out here.
He shouldn't be. It's clearly not working. No one respects it. The question then becomes, what's the cutoff line? What does your expectation of his three-point ability have to be for him to not take a wide open three?
The fact that he can get to the basket anyway.
I don't even know if he can get to the basket. He just shouldn't have the ball in those scenarios. That's the problematic part of it. He just can't be that guy in the half court.
Anyway.
Not always, at least.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. This is going to be a wild one. I can already tell. I mean, there's just so much to talk about. The NBA has devolved into an absolute shit show over the past few hours. I mean, poor Josh does the process show. He got another 2-game slate, cranks out some work early in the morning, and now all of it's useless. So it's not great. Anyway, I'm Dave Loughran. What's going on? Hit me up on the Twitters at Lafy_D, LOUGHY_D. Say what's up. Hit me with the follow, and feel free to go back and forth with anything I say or with anything my partner Josh says at Josh Engelman. We got a lot, man. Like Kawhi Leonard could be out for the rest of the series. Chris Paul enters the Rona protocol. Joel Embiid, who knows what his status is? He's playing, but what is he going to look like after shooting 0 for 12 on a bum knee in Game 4 that gave the Hawks an inroad to win that game? This whole postseason, the whole landscape of the postseason has flipped upside down in the matter of hours.
I woke up thinking one thing was happening, and now it's very different. Who knows when Chris Paul gets back? It's at least super helpful that they're already on ice right now. So in theory, it doesn't change anything for Chris Paul. If he is vaccinated, it could be just a total non-issue for him. We shall see when that news comes out. The Kawhi thing is obviously massive. The Clippers have 0% chance to win anything legitimate if Kawhi isn't around. So that is a bit of a problem. That line is now 7, I believe, 7.5, something like that.
7.5 last I looked.
That is obviously very different. They're fixing to go down 3-2, you would think. Or Paul George becomes playoff P for real and carries them to a W. We'll see how that shakes out. It's all really awful, honestly. This is the exact no matter who it is, I don't want any of this stuff to happen.
Me neither. Hey, hit that thumbs up. I know we're late in the season, but you know what? The same logic has to prevail here. If you're coming in, hit that thumbs up. If you forgot right out of the gate, we won't hold it against you, but help support the channel, help support the show. If you like the free content and you appreciate what we do here, subscribe to the channel as well. We keep pushing through. More subscribers, the better. It helps with the algorithm so we can keep getting, new hosts, new analysts, only the best, hopefully, new producers, better production and editing and everything. I mean, we're trying to make this a real deal here. And of course, a lot better for you guys in turn. So all of the support is appreciated. We can't do this stuff without you. All right. We're going to talk Atlanta, Philly, Clippers, Utah, but there's just so much here. First of all, Kevin Durant yesterday. This is where, if you heard that cold open right now with Josh and myself, we're talking about just poor shot selection from Giannis, but also the fact that Kevin Durant had a game for the ages. What was it? 49, 15, and 10. I can't remember the exact line, but an absurd stat line from Kevin Durant. Only a few players, handful of players have ever done this before. And he carried them to victory with James Harden playing nearly the entire game. Durant played the entire game, but with Harden playing the entire game, legitimately as a decoy. I compared it to, you remember when Calvin Johnson used to suit up, and Roddy White did this a lot too with Atlanta. They'd suit up, and this is when Roddy White was still a good player, but dealt with injuries, and Calvin Johnson was still at the top of his game because he was always at the top of his game, even when he was dealing with injuries. And they'd run him out there as a decoy, and teams would have to focus on them for the entirety of for 60 full minutes, even if they weren't getting targets because of that threat. And I think yesterday we saw a lot of that, but did Budenholzer and company make the mistake of spending too much time worrying about Harden when after a quarter or even at halftime, it was pretty obvious that he was less than 50% healthy?
I don't understand most of what I watched yesterday. I don't understand how someone could dominate a basketball game like Kevin Durant did for the second half in every facet. He was the point guard. He was every single position. Everybody was getting involved. He's setting back screens for Joe Harris for buckets. Like, he was doing every single piece of everything. And it was like Coach Bud didn't see the same game that we saw. It was as if no one attached to Milwaukee understood that James Harden was aggressively compromised. Can we talk about for a second that he was doubtful at one point in time yesterday? He went from out to doubtful. They added doubtful, not out to questionable. He was doubtful. He played the whole game save for a minute and a half.
Yep, 46 and a half minutes.
I hated James Harden as a play yesterday. Absolutely hated it. I didn't understand how people were getting to him, because I was like, okay, he's going to play, 30, 32 minutes. I can't imagine he can play a ton. I am fully fading James Harden.
See, I didn't. Adam and I liked him quite a bit, just given the low ownership.
I didn't think it was low. He was in 50% of lineups in our projected ownership at one point.
He was in like 8% of captain spots. Look, if I told you he played 46 minutes, though, would you?
I would have had him in everything.
Right. So it's a double-edged sword. Well, really, it's not. One edge of the sword is dull as shit because he did nothing, right? But he played 46 and a half minutes. Like, if you told me he'd coming back, even at less than 100%, played almost the entire game. And when I say almost the entire game, we're not talking 38, 40 minutes. 46 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
46 and a half minutes. He had 5, 6, and 8 on the day. What did he shoot? He had to have shot like 1 for 12 or 1 for 13 or something.
The only bucket that he made was on a garbage foul call on Middleton.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I have it here. What did he actually shoot? He was 1 for 10, 0 for 8 from 3.
Just an unbelievably porous performance.
And then Jeff Green turns into Kevin Durant 2.0 for the game as well. The only reason they win that game. And
he came off the bench too.
Yeah.
That was a smart move. They brought him off the bench, 6-man. Jeff Green put up numbers. It's crazy too. You think about it. They won that game with 5 from Harden, 5 from Joe Harris, who, say what you want about him, the guy can be a difference maker when he's knocking down threes. And it's 17 from Blake, but I don't think Blake scored since like halftime. I feel like he just disappeared after halftime, right? It was Durant and Jeff Green combining for 76 points.
We need to get everybody on the same page on this one, though. The people that think that Giannis should be guarding Durant and he's like a chump for not doing it have clearly not watched any part of this series. That's not the answer. It wasn't the answer in game 1 and 2 when it wasn't going well. He's not that kind of defender. He's not an on-ball guy. It's like asking Deion Sanders back in the day to lead the league in sacks. You're talking about two separate things. he shouldn't be the guy guarding Kevin Durant. Maybe you want to say that that's the last possession of a game or something. I can hear you on it. You do not want Giannis Antetokounmpo guarding Kevin Durant for the entire game. That's not what he's built for.
I'm with you. T.O. Deck, our boy, says, for real, Jordan Klein wouldn't be the same without what you're doing behind the scenes. You've been doing an awesome job, man. I am very much appreciative of your production work. What's funny, though, you guys don't know this. Some of the OGs or the guys that chilled with us during the daily sports show during quarantine, right? You know this, but Jordan came on with like zero production experience whatsoever. Tom just threw him into the mix in the middle of a pandemic and was like, okay, here's what you do. And the progression has been nice to see over the past year. It's been a year now around.
It's amazing to see how much better you've gotten. I didn't think it was possible to have someone be at such a low bar and think we should keep him on the payroll. And you were able to push through, man. That's a commendable effort.
Yeah. I take most responsibility for that. I'm 100% joking. No, but Jordan does an awesome job, man. And Josh, listen, Josh can never give someone a compliment without it being underhanded, but that's just Jordan. That's as good as a compliment as you'll ever get from Josh.
Yeah, no regrets here.
Yeah, no, you're an asshole. It's okay. I mean, I can appreciate that. At least you embrace it. So anything else we want to hit on? I don't want to spend, what am I talking about? I was going to say, usually I don't want to spend too much time rehashing stuff before we get into the slate, but that's an absolute fallacy. Anything else here? Like we don't have to get into the Kawhi news or anything on Embiid yet because we're talking about these games. But I think we should at least spend a second on Chris Paul because
sure, he's
in the Rona protocol, COVID-19 protocol. The weird thing is I looked for specifics and maybe you can tell, maybe you have an idea. Does he have the coronavirus? Is he vaccinated? Is he not? Are they actually going to be lenient if he is vaccinated? This is where things get hairy because I feel like some of these protocols are just seat of the pants type ideas. And then you're like, okay, well, he's vaccinated so he can come back sooner. Or it's Chris Paul so he can come back sooner. I don't know. And listen, the last thing I want to do is be conspiratorial about any of this stuff. But I just don't have enough details to know when he's expected back, or if he has it, or if he was exposed to it, or if he broke protocol and went out to a bar partying after the Game 4 win. You know what I mean?
My assumptions here, based on the wording of Sham's tweet, I think that he is vaccinated.
Okay.
But I don't know that. I'm not totally confident. I can't imagine
that thing that he wrote out and then posted on a tweet. Like you know what I'm talking about? Like it was a typed out longer. Yes. And he said like the league might be more lenient with vaccinated players.
Yeah. Right. I don't know why you would mention that if you didn't assume that he was vaccinated. Because it wouldn't matter.
Saying maybe it's okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
But either way, I'm just reading into that one. I don't have a clue. I have to assume that he has tested positive for COVID. It would surprise me highly if someone like Chris, like if he broke protocols and this comes out, that's a real big problem for someone that is of his stature in the NBA right now, because I'm not entirely sure they can take him off of any sort of list if he did it himself.
Right. So my thing is, and we just had somebody comment, where is this? Stevie A says, ESPN report says if he's vaccinated, CP3 can come back sooner than if not vaccinated. See, that was kind of what I gleaned from it was they're saying if he's vaccinated, he can come back earlier, but I didn't think it was saying he is vaccinated, so he might be able to come back earlier. You might be right, but I feel like it's a little,
I don't know,
unambiguous there. I don't know, but we got an awesome comment and these ones make me happy, Josh. I'm sure you already know which one I'm going to read, but JC Gentili or Gentile. I had a buddy named Gentili, but forgive me if it's Gentile. I feel like it's got to be Gentili. I don't know. So I just want to know, or I just want to say you guys rock. I've been a long time RG guy, and I started watching you about 4 weeks ago and just love the content. Does that not make you happy, Josh?
It really does. Because that's the goal for all of this, you know?
That's a dopamine hit. Appreciate that.
It is.
Yeah, certainly is. Yeah, we got a lot of nice comments coming in here today. We try and provide you guys with good content, so be somewhat entertaining along the way. Hopefully not too offensive. I mean, that's actually not something I strive for, but I like my job. I prefer to keep it. Not sure
that is very true. I am super happy about my job, and I would like to keep it.
Yep.
I've tried to lose it.
You tried to lose it during those NBA 2K streams a couple times.
Well, I don't know if that's true. Oh man, I legitimately broke my spreadsheet today. This is going to be a actual thing that I have to fix somehow.
Problem is, you and I were drinking during those.
Yes, that was a bit of an issue.
Ben was just so disgusted with us half the time. They were a great time though. People that were around for that. I mean, we had a blast. All right. Anything else to hit on before we jump into these games, Josh? It's an absolutely crazy morning.
I would like to think of something while I continue to futz around with this spreadsheet. What did we miss? What do we miss?
We got Paul. We're gonna hit on Kawhi.
No. Let's have this conversation. There's not much to say. We'll hit on Kawhi once we get to Utah at this point. But
that's what I'm saying.
Here's a legitimate question for you: are the Bucks still alive?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like,
you can't look at last game and see what. Like, I look at the Sixers the same way, in a sense of like, I still have the Sixers heavy favorites to win this, because unless Joel Embiid is crippled, he's not shooting 0 for 12 in the second half again. He's not missing a wide open layup. The Hawks at home barely eked out a win, right? Look at the Milwaukee and Brooklyn side of this. Brooklyn got that win at home. Harden playing at what, 30% health? If that, like, I mean, he was just healthy enough to not limp up and down the court. That's the way I would see it.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant needed a 49, 17, and 10 game, along with Jeff Green dropping 27 off the bench on a phenomenal shooting night. Now, could you make the argument that, well, Joe Harris is going to be better in certain games? Sure. There's no question about that. Could you say that, other guys could have more of an impact? I guess. But like, you're not looking to Bruce Brown and Mike James, even Blake Griffin, to make a significant impact. If James Harden comes back in the same condition for game 6 in Milwaukee that he was in game 5, I think this definitely goes 7, Josh. Like, I don't see how this doesn't go 7. If you were to take the same circumstances, right? Like, take everything that we had from game 5 and place that into game 6 without any, how do we not go to game 7?
Right. How important is Kyrie Irving's health right now?
It's massive, but I really think that did you ever go back and watch the ankle sprain? Did you ever watch the video?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
It was, I'm sorry, it was Adam who had it. It didn't look good.
No.
That ball, that ball on the side of your ankle that when you whack it against the bed frame or something, you want to kill yourself. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That was level with the ground. That was parallel with the court. That can't be good.
No, not at all. Real bad. Real bad. And like, if he comes back, is he 100%? Probably not. We just saw how that went. Like,
right. That's another good point.
I think they're real live to still win this if they don't have a real big problem coming out of game 5 mentally.
You're talking about the Bucks?
Yeah. Look,
how could they not be?
KD has to do that again.
That's what I'm saying. Or Jeff Green. And Jeff Green has to do something like that again, or it has to be Joe Harris, because Kevin Durant was the reason they won that game, but you can't ignore the fact that they had another player not named James Harden, Kyrie Irving, or even Joe Harris step up in a huge way. The 27 from Jeff Green off the bench was massive.
Oh, I mean, he was 5 for 5 early from 3. He needed every one of those.
Exactly.
There was no middle ground.
If you don't have that 76 combined from Kevin Durant and Jeff Green, like if Jeff Green finishes with 10 and Durant has a decent game, but not a just blowout amazing performance, they probably lose that by 15, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It was dangerously close. I mean, they had a 5% chance to win per unpredictable at one point in time during that game. And they came back fully on the back of Kevin Durant, obviously. And let's say we think Kyrie Irving is not playing in game 6, which is my assumption. Who do you think wins game 6 in Milwaukee?
Oh, I just said it. I just told you. I said it goes 7 for sure.
Okay.
Like, if I think Milwaukee is going to be okay. Hold on. I was going to say I would lay probably 5 points on Milwaukee. Right? There's 5.5 point favorites already. That line is out.
What do you think Do you think that Harden is better, worse, or the same in game 6 and then extend that to game 7?
And that's what I can't predict for that, but I want to say that James Harden is probably the same. I have a very difficult time believing that you just played 46 and a half minutes. You almost played the entirety of an NBA playoff game, right?
Yes.
And now 2 days later, not only are you playing 2 days later, but you're traveling back to Milwaukee for this. Okay.
Yeah.
So sure, these guys are used to that, but it's not like you get to go home to your place and stay there and then come back home on a game 1 and 2 or a 3 and 4. Like, you're traveling. You just played 46 and a half minutes after being out since game 1, really, matter of fact, since the last series, right? Because you played 40 seconds. I'll throw it right back to you, because you know where I stand on this. I have a very difficult time believing that Harden makes significant enough improvements for me not to bet Milwaukee to win this game. I think that's the best way for me to put it. Enough improvements for me not to think Milwaukee wins this game.
I agree. I don't think there's a scenario where you could picture James Harden being healthier in game 6 than he was in game 5. Yep. That would make no sense to me. And subsequently, barring him not playing in game 6, I have no concept of how he could be better off in game 7 than he was in game 5. At which point, I think that Milwaukee should win this series, and they have the same odds of winning the series as the Sixers right now.
Yeah, when it all comes down to it, I would say this much.
Have you looked at the line?
I told you it's 5.5.
No. Series line.
Oh, the series line. No, but let me take a guess. So Brooklyn has home court advantage, game 7, right? I think that's impactful.
Yeah.
I'd put Brooklyn minus 130, minus 125 to win.
Minus 315.
Wow.
The same as the Philadelphia 76ers right now.
Usually I'm pretty damn good at coming in pretty close on those lines. Man, that was as far off as I've ever been. And honestly, I feel like I shouldn't have been that far off. Obviously, that was my answer, but I don't think I should. Go ahead.
Bucks plus 230.
You don't think that's a little strange? Like,
it seems high to me.
Let's break it down for a second. Then we're going to jump into Philly and Atlanta. And what do you guys think? Seriously, what would you put the Bucks at to win? Or no, what would you put the Nets at to win this series right now? Given everything we saw last game, given the ankle injury that we saw with Kyrie Irving, which was clearly not good. I mean, the guy left in a walking boot and crutches. James Harden played almost a full game, but his performance was massively hindered by that hamstring injury. And KD and Jeff Green's massive performance off the bench powered them through at home. So yes, I think they should still be favored. Dude, maybe like minus 200, would you say 350 or 310 or something?
Minus 310.
I can't get on board with 310. If anything, man,
that's a 76% chance of winning.
I don't think that's right unless there's something about Harden or Kyrie's injuries that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I guess I would bet on Milwaukee in that series.
Me too.
At those numbers.
You can get them at 230, you said?
It's the only place I've looked so far, 230.
The only thing
it could conceivably be better somewhere else.
There's a pretty significant hold on that though, right? Because
you're
not getting, you said they're plus 230. I'm sorry, one more time. I was reading chat.
Yeah, minus 310 Brooklyn to plus 230 Milwaukee. That's a biggie.
Yeah, that's tough. That gives them that's implied odds of 30%.
Yeah.
Whereas the Brooklyn Nets is at, I think, 76%. So there's a pretty significant hold there.
Yeah.
I think, if you got the Bucks at 260 or something, that'd be pretty nice. But I don't know. What would you put it at? And then we'll talk some tonight basketball. Like, honestly, what would you put it at if you didn't look and you saw what we saw in game 5? Because chat is mostly in agreement with myself.
So let me go back here. So the money line for Thursday is like plus 190 for Brooklyn right now, which means that's like a 30, we'll call it 35% chance of winning that game. We'll just say that's what that is.
Okay.
Which means there's a 65% chance that they don't win that game. Let's call game 7 a coin flip. That seems about right given
what we know.
Yeah. So that means there's a 65% chance to lose game 6, a 50-50 chance of losing game 7. That's a 33% chance of losing both games. So just based on those numbers, 2/3, 1/3 is basically where I stand. Nets should be slightly favored because it's, you only got to win one. That seems a little long for me. I feel like they're a bit too big of favorites in the betting market. A lot of that being held up in just juice from the books.
Yeah. And also uncertainty, right? Like, I don't know if you can put a good line on this right now.
Yeah.
Frank said going 7 games should be in the 180 range. I agree with that, Frank. I think I shorted the Brooklyn Nets a little bit too much at like 130, 180, even 200 sounds a bit right, but 310 seems a lot for sure.
Like, I can't imagine wanting to put money down on the Nets to win this series.
Yeah, right.
At that number, like, that to me seems impossible.
I don't see how you could do it.
Just take them at plus 190 in game 6.
Right. Yeah, I don't see how you could do it right now. Not at that. Anyway, we're over 100 likes, so appreciate you guys. Help us get to 150. If you haven't done so yet, smack that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to join, become a member here at Awesemo on the YouTubes. Hit that join button. It's $2.99. You get the loyalty badges, priority questions when we're doing these shows, comments, shout outs, and of course, all the sick emojis that you can find down there as well. All right, Josh, let's talk Atlanta, Philly. Before we do, you know what it is. We got to talk about No House Advantage, our favorite sponsor here on the Strategy Show, peer-to-peer player prop platform. They know how to listen, there's ways to make money on No House Advantage. It's the simplest way to put it. Because why would you care about any other reason to play on a site if you can't find an edge? Oh, it's fun. I lose all the time, but it's fun. No, that's horseshit. Nobody cares about that. We care about finding ways to make money. And when you have free tools at awesemo.com, player prop tool that's free every day of the week, specifically for the No House Advantage player prop tool, the No House Advantage optimal lineups tool, and the fact that the odds never change. The props don't change throughout the day at No House Advantage. So I'm assuming, Josh, I hadn't looked yet, that Paul George is probably a massive overhit. With Kawhi Leonard ruled doubtful today. And don't give your competition the credit you think that they deserve, because oftentimes, or don't give them too much credit, because a lot of times they will miss that. And I think you said it yesterday, even if only 20% of the field that you're playing against is missing these static lines that change throughout the day on other books, but not at No House Advantage, it's still a significant edge to you.
Yeah, you have to just assume that there's a chunk of people that have no idea anything that we normally say. And you having that information makes it even more valuable. And we're providing even better stuff like up-to-date projections and optimal lineups if you don't want to do any work whatsoever. Just combining the fact that most people won't pay attention and there's likely overlay, just take the I'm putting it in air quotes for you because I can't guarantee anything, but take the free money.
Yeah. And take the free $20 that you get when you sign up and deposit for the first time using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. Again, if you're wondering what it is, go to nohouseadvantage.com, download the app in the App Store or Google Play. But it's peer-to-peer player prop platform where, just like tournaments on other sites, except you don't have salaries and you don't have a cap. You're putting in player props into your lineup. The ones you're most confident in go at the top. It'd be like paying up for a KD or a Giannis, right? The ones you like the most go at the top. They get the most points. The ones you feel least confident in go at the bottom. They get the fewest points. Build your lineup. Go up against everybody else. Use the tools. Use the promo code. Win money there. Build your bankroll. Even if you want to take that and chase 100K wins over at other sites, you can do that. But it's a great place right now to build your bankroll up. No House Advantage, sponsor of the Strategy Show. All right, let's talk Atlanta, Philadelphia. Did you want to say something?
I got one more thing for you.
Please.
You ready?
Please.
Okay. These are the odds to win the Eastern Conference. I know you haven't looked at these either.
I haven't. Okay, so Phillies, give me this. Is Philly still minus 300 to win the series?
Yes. They are the same as the Nets.
But they're going up against the 4 seed and they're not going up against the Bucks. The Nets could get healthy. They're still minus 300 to win the series. So I would say the Nets are still favored to win the East.
The Nets are favored to win the East.
And I would say the Nets are probably like minus 260.
Minus 140.
No, hold on. That can't be right because they're only 310 to win this series. Give me Nets minus 165.
Minus 140.
Okay.
The Sixers are plus 230. The Bucks are plus 400. The Hawks are plus 2,000.
Wow. Well, that makes sense on the Hawks. Like, even if they got through Philly, they're not getting through either of those other teams. Okay. So, yeah, I figured the Nets, just given the odds in this series and the fact that the Hawks are a 4 seed and the Bucks are a better team than them, at least they should be, would favor the Nets. But honestly, I don't think that's crazy. Based on the line for the current series between the Nets and the Bucks, if that's the line, the only logical reasoning is, or the only logical conclusion is that the Nets are a lot healthier by the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what you have to conclude here. And if that's the case, they're definitely favored.
Look, if you think the Sixers win today, and based on the betting lines, like they are a pretty sizable favorite, the 76ers are not going to be plus 230 to win the East tomorrow if they win today. It's going to be significantly lower odds because they are going to have a significantly better chance of just simply making the Eastern Conference Finals. If you have interest in getting this line, you have to bet it today if you're expecting the Sixers to win today's game.
Yep.
If you want to try to like slightly hedge that somehow, bet on the Hawks money line or something along those lines today just to like buy yourself back out of it. But for right now, plus 230 is not going to exist on the Sixers tomorrow. And who the hell knows if we get any news on Harden today, that plus 230 number, like it's not going to be better news on Harden. They're not going to be like, hey, we checked him out and he's just like not even hurt anymore. Only bad news can come out for the Nets and make that Sixers line be less advantageous. I really like the Sixers plus 230 there.
That's a good call. Yeah. I mean, you're taking on some risk, but you're taking on risk in any plus money bet like that, especially when you're talking futures, right? So, yeah. Lou asks, any plans for an Awesemo mobile app? Also been a long time RG guy, but love your guys' content analysis and consider switching. First of all, thanks, Lou. Second of all, we're a lot newer than a lot of these other sites. Like, we've only been around for, I don't know. I came over here 3 years ago and you started in what, March of 18?
Yeah.
So we're 3+, barely older than 3 years, but yes, it's definitely in the plans. There's no doubt about that. I mean, we're doing everything we can to build the site and always open to suggestions as well. Frank says, does that tell you that Embiid is in worse shape than we think? If you're talking about shape in terms of his knee, I don't think so. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think the odds, at least, are suggesting that Embiid's performance last game is, indicative of what you're expected to see today, because the Sixers are still laying 6.5 points. That's a lot. I don't think they're 6.5 point favorites at all if Embiid's not expected to play or if he's massively hobbled.
No, I mean, there's going to be ambiguity in every single thing that Embiid does. He just needs time off. And now we're in the part of the series where you only get back-to-back days. Yep. Them winning here and winning in game 6 is massive. They absolutely want that Nets series to go to 7. And he's going to look a lot better in game 1 of the next series if they get there than he is right now. And every game that goes on in each series is just going to be incrementally worse for him. He's not healthy. It's not up in the air. We know that, but it is at least manageable.
Yep, it is. And I agree with you, B, and Chad. He did look rough last game. There's no doubt he was hurting. Like he was fatigued. He was hurting. He went and got treatment, but the line's at 6.5. If you think Embiid is in that bad a shape, you might want to consider, putting money on taking the points with the Hawks, because Embiid is clearly the engine that makes this team go. Unless, of course, you're playing the Wizards or something, and it doesn't really matter. All right, Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young probable, had that massive thing on his shoulder. It's during when he was on the bench. That huge. I guess it's ice and some other stuff, Josh, but
yeah.
He should be okay. He only shot 8 of 26 last game. He had a couple big ones late in the game, 3 for 11 from 3. But on a slate like this, you have Embiid, who we expect to play, and we'll get into him in a second. I think it's fascinating to get into whether or not we want to go back to him today after that last game? For me, the answer will probably be yes. And then Trae Young, Kawhi Leonard, not expected to play. I mean, he's out for all intents and purposes if he's expected to miss the rest of the series, or at least could. Donovan Mitchell, who continues to pour in huge games. And then you have Tobias Harris and Paul George. Paul George now becomes, arguably the most underpriced player on this whole damn slate.
Yeah, that is an understatement. I just assume that he has.
Oh, by the way, Alex said he was going to run ownership for us with the Kawhi news, and he did. We did.
Nice.
He just updated.
Really?
Maybe not. Yeah, Paul George. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was still in showdown ownership from yesterday, but I think he did.
Well, if he did, I got somebody that's the clear best play of the day, and it's not Paul George.
Well, yeah. Kawhi's off of this.
We'll talk about it in a bit. I don't trust it.
Right.
But we'll get there. I don't think that I could be wrong on this one either. Anyway, we're talking Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. So it's a tale of two different sites right now because small forward and power forward on FanDuel are officially broken. At small forward, you have these options: Nick Batum, Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari, Matisse Thybulle, Tony Snell. Tony Snell showed up in optimals 1% of the time. So you are basically spreading, let's call it 190 of 200% to Batum, Bojan, Gallo, and Thybulle. Same exact story at power forward. Harris, Collins, Morris, O'Neal are the only power forwards that you can reasonably roster today, unless you're trying to get ultra weird with randos. And because of that, John Collins and Gallo on FanDuel for Atlanta are in like 50% of optimals by default because you just don't have any other way to roster people at those positions. So I like those two guys the most, but the public's already there. And it's not like I like them because they're generally exceptional. They just sort of win by default. The guys that I do like on this team a lot on their own: Bogdan Bogdanovic, 6,200 on FanDuel, 6,500 on DraftKings. He's playing 40 minutes a game. He, to me, is my biggest priority coming from Atlanta of guys that you just don't roster because you have to. Trae Young is 10-4 on FanDuel now, which I like. And now that you don't have to pay up for Kawhi Leonard, significantly easier to just pay up for Trae Young by default. 9,900 on DK is already projected for 36% ownership. I see Atlanta as basically properly owned. You have 6 guys that you can play, and I don't think you really go to any of the other 6 guys.
All right. Yo, it felt like it seriously looked like John Collins had the yips last game. Did you watch that game, didn't you? You know what the yips are?
I do. Well, the only thing that I remember him doing is just tip dunking after tip dunking after tip dunking all over them.
Right. Exactly. But he passed up. If you go back, man, he passed up so many opportunities. He seemed super nervous when he wasn't getting those tip dunks or lobs, or putbacks, sorry, which were, they were impactful. They rocked the house. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. But there were a lot of spots where he had wide open threes that he passed up a few times. He had cuts to the basket where he just decided to throw it out of bounds. It was really strange. I'm telling you, some people would have noticed what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying he actually has the yips, because I don't even think the yips are diagnosable, right? Like, you can't really.
Are you sure this was the most recent game? We're talking, you had 14 and 12 with 1 turnover.
Yeah. And the 1 turnover was him getting a clear path to the basket and just deciding to throw it over Clint Capella's head and then passing up a bunch of different shots. I'm telling you, man, in the final, 12, 15 minutes of that game, Collins was impactful, don't get me wrong. But in the final 12, 15 minutes of that game, he made some super questionable head-scratching plays that just looked like he didn't want to shoot the ball and wanted to get it out of his hands.
I'll be honest with you. I can't remember anything after watching last night's game. The only thing that I can remember is last night. So
okay, that's fair. Well,
I'll
this
trust
game
you.
2 nights ago. So
yeah, I'll trust you.
Yeah. Look, top plays from Atlanta. Just give me your top plays from Atlanta. You kind of just rattled them off for the guys that you're willing to look at. Are there any guys that are priorities tonight?
Collins and Gallo on FanDuel. To me, Bogdanovic on DraftKings. But we've got Capella at 30% ownership, Gallo at 30, Trae Young, Collins, and Herter at 36, and Bogdanovic at 41. It's just sort of, play 2 of everybody from Atlanta that's relevant and don't play their other guys. Lou Will, Okongwu, and Tony Snell make up 5-6% of ownership. It's the 6 guys that play 30 plus minutes and nobody else. And they all look pretty similar.
K Cork says he shouldn't be shooting threes, though, in my opinion. Look, Collins is a 40% 3-point shooter on the year. If you get a wide open corner 3, you take it.
Just about everybody in the league should take a wide open corner 3.
Right.
You should especially take it if you're a 40% 3-point shooter.
If there's one player in the league that you would not want taking a wide open corner 3, who would it be? And I'm telling you right now, Ben Simmons is the wrong answer.
Oh, I 100% agree that Ben Simmons is the wrong answer. I don't know. At this rate, Giannis, but it's probably like Boban or something.
Boban can knock him sometimes, man. Boban can knock him down. I mean,
it's a lot of different centers.
Right. Probably Rudy. Has Rudy ever attempted a 3? I know he has.
I have no idea. No idea. Hassan Whiteside probably shouldn't be shooting that stuff.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Drummond can knock him down from time to time.
He can't make a layup, though, which is weird enough. The truth. Draymond's a legitimately good answer.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, you know what? Here's my answer. You want this, chat? Take this one and own it. Russell Westbrook.
Wow.
It's not the true answer, but it's a real fun one for me.
Boban's a 26% 3-point shooter. But in all seriousness, like I bet there's centers out there that are worse than that.
Oh, yeah.
Westbrook, that's just a spite answer.
It is and it isn't.
All right. How many threes in 545 career games, 16,181 minutes has Rudy Gobert attempted?
3. 7.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if 5 of them were full court heaves after a rebound at the end of a quarter or half.
Yep. Exactly. That's what I just figured. It had to be a lot.
That's the cool thing about NBA.com is you can actually see which ones were heaves and which ones are actual 3-point attempts. You know, like Ben Simmons' 3-point percentage is actually pretty high, I would assume, on shots that he meant to take.
Yeah, I think I've only ever seen them make them, I think.
I know. He's missed a couple, but yeah, it's just funny, man. I don't get it. The 76ers on the other side saw Joel Embiid just brutal second half, but the guy's still 21 rebounds. I told you to hammer that over 2.5 assist prop. We got that. 4 assists on the day. No stocks either, but 17 and 21 and 4. It wasn't a performance that absolutely kills you, but he shot 4 for 20. I mean, it was bad, Josh. I'm not going to defend him. All I'm saying is the 21 rebounds helped anybody out that had him at least. Ownership today on Joel Embiid, now that we got that update with Giannis out, or I'm sorry, with Kawhi Leonard expected out, is still pretty high. And I personally on a 2-game slate still think it should be. Listen, he had 21 points or 21 rebounds, 4 assists, no stocks, and he's been racking up 4+ stocks every game. If he just shoots better than 4 for 20, even 7 for 20, 8 for 20, you're getting another 60 fantasy point game last game.
I'm not entirely sure why you wouldn't want 420, but I definitely agree with you. I like getting to Embiid today, and I like getting to Embiid today more so now than I did 2 hours ago, because there is no Kawhi Leonard option to pay up for. So now Joel Embiid's salary seems a little bit more reasonable because he's probably the highest raw point scorer for the slate, or at least somewhere in that neighborhood. So projected for about 40% ownership on FanDuel. Seems about right. Projected for about 40% ownership on DraftKings. Seems about right. Looks like a really nice pay-up option. To me, he's the best sixer on either site, so long as you just understand that you have to play Tobias Harris in like 60% of your lineups by default. On FanDuel, that is.
How many?
Like he's 60% owned on FanDuel right now at 8,100.
Jeez.
I mean... Okay, here we go. Rank these 4: Tobias Harris, John Collins, Marcus Morris, Royce O'Neal.
On FanDuel?
That's it. That's all you can roster at power forward today, unless you're a big George Niang fan.
I'm not a big Royce O'Neal fan either.
No, and he might be the best play today because he's the cheapest. That's what I'm saying, man. Like you don't have a choice.
Honestly, without Kawhi, Marcus Morris starts looking really good.
I agree, but he looked great already. Like, right. You can only move him up so much.
Like, do you not think he should be the highest owned power forward with Kawhi out?
Probably not. I think it should probably be Tobias because I think his raw point ceiling is a little bit higher for the 2-gamer. On DraftKings, I think Morris takes the biggest leap, but on FanDuel, there's only so much room because he's still only getting compared to 3 people.
Ben Simmons doesn't need to score to give us good games, which is nice. No. He also doesn't score sometimes and gives us bad games, but he was one assist shy of a triple-double last time out, 36 minutes. I would really like to see these guys start playing 40 minutes. I'd really like to see Doc start just really stop giving the bench as many minutes as he has. And I won't blame last game on the bench. I can't, but I'd like to see 40 minutes from Ben today. I really would, because other players are going to get those type of minutes.
And at 7,600 on DraftKings, he's going to look damn good. Although Frank Tank in chat is going to just be super wrong. Ben Simmons sucks, and it's hilarious. One of 2 people to be unanimous first team All NBA or all defense players yesterday. But, we'll ignore the fact that there's the other side of the ball. If you can't shoot threes, you must be awful. He looks really good for 7,600. To me, the second best option on DraftKings for the Sixers.
The impact that Ben Simmons makes in a basketball game is outrageous.
My analog for earlier about Deion Sanders leading the league in sacks is the same for Simmons. Like, yes, I want him to shoot threes if he can shoot threes, but that doesn't invalidate all of the other good stuff that he does while he's out on the floor.
Yeah, look, I think my criticisms surrounding Simmons have been fair all season long, okay? And I've been one of the most outspoken critics about a lot. I wish he would get to the basket more when given the opportunity, not just stop and kick it out behind the 3-point line. I wish his free throw shooting was better. But to act like Ben Simmons is not a net positive on this team is one of the most silly things you could ever imagine.
Yeah, the immediate response was ignore the fact that he can't make a foul shot either. Let's ignore the fact that he has an above average true shooting in every year of his career. Those things aren't stopping him from running an efficient offense when the ball is in his hands. It's not ideal, but it's not like he's, I don't know, Russell Westbrook not being able to run an efficient offense when he's out there. And I mean this sincerely when I say it. He's got a true shooting relative to league average better every single year of his career. So those problems that he has are like problems in the way that I'm not a billionaire. Life is still pretty good. I'd like to be a billionaire. Yeah. I'm going to be all right. And he is only going to get better at 24.8 years old right now.
He needs to start shooting the basketball though, because let me just explain this to you. And then I'm going to have you wrap up the Sixers. We'll go to the Clippers, Utah, and we'll say goodbye. The issue I have is one day we're going to look back on Ben Simmons and say, he was a really good player, but imagine what he could have been. And I don't think that is an unfair statement, even a little bit, right? Imagine what Ben Simmons could have been if he was more aggressive and if he actually, worked on that jumper. And if he had coaches throughout his career, yes, I believe this, that actually pushed him to do that and didn't say just, dude, listen, you're a monster out there. You're an athletic freak. You're insanely talented. You're huge for your size. You're a great ball handler despite being almost 7 foot. Like all of that stuff will get you there. Don't worry about shooting. If there was one guy that said, don't you know what you could be? If you shot, like if you were even a decent shooter, we would be looking at Ben Simmons as a surefire Hall of Famer. And he probably still will be if he continues playing at this clip. But I'm talking like upper echelon of players. And my fear is that he never achieves that because of the shooting. I know this is slightly hyperbole, but we would have never went back. Like if we went back in time, we would not be saying, man, you know what? Shaq should shoot more threes. No, we
would never say that.
Right. False equivalence.
I don't think that it should matter here. Ben Simmons is really good at handling the ball. So we make it seem like he's not a monster human being that's out there. We treat him under this different lens, like he's a point guard, but he's not a point guard. He's built more like a center than a point guard. He's more like most centers that have ever existed in time than point guards in this time.
But this is
I don't mind that he doesn't shoot. You just have to put him in the places where he would succeed most. The same way that I wouldn't want Shaq, Jack. It's the same conversation for Giannis. Just because these guys can't shoot doesn't mean they should be shooting. They should just play the way that they're supposed to be playing as monster human beings.
But this is 2021.
I guess.
If you want to, that. Like, listen, man, I'm not asking.
I think I think it gives you a higher ceiling. Sure.
I'm not asking him to. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the ceiling, which could absolutely be achieved, will never be achieved. I'm not saying he's not going to go down in history as a great player. I'm saying he could have gone down as one of the greats. That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
And without shooting, it's not going to happen. That's all.
I agree.
Anyway, any further thoughts on the Sixers? Anybody you like here down at the bottom?
Yeah, so I think I'd get to Thibault on FanDuel at 3,800. You just need some value at that position. On DraftKings, though, they're thin on value. Like, you go back to Korkmaz at 3,800. I assume he starts again and plays 24, 25 minutes, something along those lines. Curry, to me, is just like slightly overpriced. You still get to him because you have to, but on FanDuel at 5,100, it's not the best to me. I'd be more likely to get there on DK. I don't find Philly to be all that appealing from a fantasy perspective, other than really the big three.
Then let's talk about the Clippers and the Utah Jazz first. Why don't we shout out our Awesemo Hall of Fame people for this one? And, I guess I have to pose this as a disclaimer now, Josh. If you go on the Awesemo Hall of Fame, awesemo.com/avatar page, you'll see it there. And it's been there from the beginning. If you tie with 3 or more people, it's not eligible for the Awesemo Plus Platinum.
Yes.
You have to understand where we're coming from here. Like, there's going to be days where, Josh, there's like 100 people with Awesemo avatars tying for first place or even more. Like,
especially on FanDuel in these showdown slates where you can chop. Those contests have like 150,000 people in it. You'll chop with 4,000 people.
Yeah, and I promise you, we've given out a ton of free subs with people with the Awesemo avatar since we started doing this.
100%. It's constant. It's absolutely constant.
We're not trying to screw anyone. Like, we want to give away subs. We want you guys to come up top, place top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. You win a free. It's $100 value. Awesemo Plus Platinum. All the tools on the site: ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, top pitchers, top stacks, like everything we have on the site. You get all of that for the entire month. You can add the Fantasy Cruncher add-on as well. But all of these tools outside of Cruncher, built and used by Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, #1 ranked DFS players, won a ton of money using these tools. Like, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. Plus, you get shown off here on the Awesemo Hall of Fame segment, which Jordan's running for us right now. So let's break it down. Berm, we got one right here, 540, first place. He said first tweet, first place. I love to see that. Congrats, Michael.
Hell yeah.
Next up, Chuck Coffer. Split with over 150 of my closest friends, with shared first place twice in a week, straight up thanks to the Boom Bust tool. The tools work, fellas. I forgot about the Boom Bust tool. Phenomenal tool. Congrats there, Chuck. What has he got? A 78 and a 333. You love to see it. Corey Berea. Hey, Awesemo. Finally did it last night. Love listening to you guys on a daily. Never miss a show. Thanks to all your help. And then he lists all of us down there. 20, is that 27 in the 2000? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's solid. We'll take that. And then not Jack Black, just John O. My first ever takedown was a few weeks back. Forgot to post about it, but I had 2 more today. May not have been 1,000, but feels good to see first place. Congrats, man. And then the last one here, Melissa, longtime viewer of the show. Not a top 3 on DK or FanDuel, but I've been killing it on Prize Picks the last 2 nights using NBA projections. Hitting those 5X and 10X for big hits with small risk. Thanks for helping me pay my electric bill in the Texas heat. Congrats to everyone. You want to get up here. You want to win the free month. Awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Awesemo HOF. That's Hall of Fame. Include Josh and myself and win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. All right, let's do it. Clippers, no Kawhi Leonard. I'm just assuming he's out, Josh. They're 7.5-point dogs. They just knotted the series up at 2. Things were looking real good for them. Maybe you would have been right that they could win 4 straight. Still don't see it. Certainly don't see it now. Talk to me about Paul George. This is huge.
Well, we're going to find out what Paul George is made of. We got to keep him away from coffee machines and shit tonight, or he's not going to make it to tip-off. If you don't like Paul George tonight, I don't know what to tell you. He's going to get like 35% usage or more for this team. They don't really have that sort of creation coming in, and you should play a lot of Paul George. He's unquestionably one of the best plays on the slate. I think he's the least interesting person to talk about. 9,200 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings. He's just got it all. He's in the situation. Look, I'm not saying that he's going to be Kevin Durant tonight, because that would be one of the dumber things that would come out of my mouth in a list of real dumb stuff that I say on this show. But like, that's the role that he has today, to have the ball, to shoot as much as you want, to integrate other people, do everything out on the floor. That's your job today, Paul George. You just play him. There's nothing. I don't think that that's like much of a hot take. The one that we have to talk about is the one that makes me think that our ownership update has not gone through. Oh, well, it's gone through, but we're not where we need to be yet.
Which one?
So,
what are you talking about?
Isn't Luke Kennard about to play like a ton of minutes today now? We got to fill 40 minutes of Kawhi Leonard today.
Yeah. Marcus Morris is already playing center minutes.
Right.
So
I feel like Luke Kennard has to play like 24 to 30 minutes at 3,100 today.
I just want to pull up the last game here and get a look at something real quick. So, all right. Zubats played 17 minutes last game. I'm wondering if you see a shift here and they go a little bit and Ty Lue goes a little bit bigger. Kennard gets minutes, but Zubats plays maybe 25 minutes tonight. Morris plays less at the 5, plays more. It's possible. I think there's a few things that Ty Lue's capable of doing, but naturally you would think that Kennard gets some significant extended run tonight.
Well, yeah. Well, let's walk through that scenario. Kennard, by the way, played 29 minutes 4 games ago, then went 10, 17, and 12. But we're taking Kawhi out. So we got to fix what you would expect 38 to 40 minutes for today's rotation to go to. You can it's not like Paul George is getting an increase that's going to be substantial in this one. He's already playing 40. If it's 42 or 44, yeah, great. But that's not where the bulk's coming. You can only get so much bulk out of Marcus Morris or Batum or Reggie Jackson.
Terrence
all
Mann,
these guys
too.
Yeah. So all these guys are going to have to pick up like incremental minutes. Zubac, Terrence Mann, Patrick Beverley, and Kennard are the 4 other guys that are in the rotation already. Does someone else get put into the rotation? I assume we get a little bit of DeMarcus Cousins today now. You're just trying to find some additional offense, and that's one of your only few opportunities to do so. That's like one rotation. Kennard seems to me like the guy. Was that real? Stan Van Gundy fired? Yep, he's done. Anyway, Kennard to me seems like the easiest 1-to-1 replacement for Kawhi. Now, obviously, they are not comparable in any way, but positionally, they sort of are. I think Mann gets a little bit. I think Beverly could get a little bit. But I think Luke Kennard at 3,100 is the guy that gets the biggest benefit here. That's where I stand right now. It's obviously 11 o'clock. I made my changes to this news 30 minutes before we went live because this news just broke. But to me, I think that we are, if Luke Kennard is 9% owned on DraftKings today at 3,100, I will have a lot more of that.
I don't have an issue with that at all. The one thing I would say is Ty Lue's rotations you don't have a ton of direct backups, like exclusive backups. So he can do a ton of different things, right? It's not like, okay, Kawhi Leonard goes down, Terrence Mann or Luke Kennard, who was getting all of the backup minutes, is now going to fill in that role. It could very much be, like you said, it's just distributed kind of evenly throughout a lot of the bench. You could see a trickle-down effect at the center position with Zubats getting more, maybe Marcus Morris playing more at the 4. There's a lot of different ways this could break. I think Marcus Morris, his minutes have kind of been in flux, but I think he's locked into these minutes today. I feel pretty confident about Morris. I like him a lot. I don't know if anyone else is locked into him. Like, okay, Batum probably plays 36 today. I'd give him a few extra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that works.
Marcus Morris probably plays like 30, potentially even 38 in a game like this. We know that Paul George, if it's competitive, plays 40 again. Terrence Mann probably gets, I don't know. You could see him getting upwards of 22, 24, because Kawhi's voiding 40 minutes.
Do they dust off Rondo? I gave him 8 minutes. Alex gave him. Alex and the guys gave him 7.
I'm fine with that. Sure. But ultimately, like you look at Terrence Mann, he'll sub in and sub out for pretty much anyone in this rotation. Nothing is direct anymore with Ty Lue's rotations. And that to me is not disconcerting, but it makes it more of a puzzle for sure. Don't you think?
Yeah, look, I don't have a very good clue. I took my shot at minutes without looking at anything that we did on the website. The Awesemo.com projections went a bit heavier on Zubac, a little bit heavier on Cousins. We're basically the same on Mann, the same on Rondo. We went Paul George to 44. That wouldn't really surprise me, but I went pretty heavy on Luke Kennard, and we didn't budge on Luke Kennard, and that surprised me. But again, they don't matter what these projections look like at 9:30 in the morning when we take that shot. We're going to have to figure out starters. We're going to have information as we get further on along in this day, be able to take a little bit of a bigger look. I think that we should expect a little bit more from Kennard, but I do like that bigger boost to Zubac and Cousins. I think that is where I'm off. Row.
UPS driver, man.
Got a package, people.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. This is the last thing I'll say on the Clippers, and then we can talk about the Jazz. One, no, I don't know if Kicks Good was thinking that we were saying 7-8 minutes of Rondo is worth playing. Of course not. We're trying to figure out what the rotation is going to look like in order to figure out minutes for other players that probably are worth playing on a 2-game slate. Second of all, there was a question earlier about, why does Paul George, why is he a better play in a spot like this? Of course, the question of, well, do they find ways to lock him down, or do they run right through the Clippers? Maybe, but he could have 40% usage tonight. He get 45%. Paul George, whether he's efficient or not, you have to take that volume any day of the week. I just don't know how you can get away from that volume, especially given that his salary, you can't preemptively price a guy up when salaries are already out before Kawhi Leonard goes down. There's too much that goes into Kawhi, given his salary, monster minutes, and just overall volume and usage, that all of the drawbacks here aren't enough for me to say no.
No, he'd be $1,500 more expensive if you were able to reprice this with Kawhi out.
Easy.
He's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Easy. And remember, you got the deeper dive tonight. You got live before lock. You got the tip-off show. You got everything. We're going to cover everything leading up to lock. Once we get more news, maybe we'll get some starting lineups. We got you here at the Awesemo YouTube channel. And if you appreciate us, you appreciate these shows, help us get that to 200 likes. We got 500, almost 530 people watching, 166 likes, 34 to go, making good progress here. I love seeing 500 plus people on a Wednesday on a 2-game postseason slate.
Oh, you and me both, man. It's just getting like a full crop of people in here, getting all riled up in chat is amazing.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So, I like what who do you think takes Kawhi's spot in the starting lineup?
Kennard.
You do?
Could be Terrence Mann. They could go Morris and Zubac in the front court. I don't know.
Last starting lineup was Batum, George, Jackson, Leonard, Morris.
Say it again.
Batum. We'll go in order. Jackson, George, Leonard, Batum, Morris.
Oh, the last lineup. Okay, I thought you were saying the last time Kawhi didn't play.
That's they went to these two starting lineups, that same starting lineup for both wins. Zubac would be the guy that makes the most sense. But I think they want to continue to play small. But can you still play small if one of the wing defenders isn't Kawhi Leonard?
Batum's not a bad defender. Morris isn't a bad defender. I think it would make more sense to put Zubac in there and at least put yourself in an advantageous situation when it comes to rebounding at this point. Because when you take Kawhi out of the rotation, now you're looking at a starting lineup that, when you have Paul George and Kawhi, it's all right to be small. You have a very strong offense. And honestly, the rebounding deficit hasn't been bad for them. But if you're going Jackson, George, Batum, Morris, and Kennard, that gets kind of ugly. And then you take a shooter away from the bench, which might not matter if you run them all for huge minutes. But I think you could see Zubac back in the starting lineup and Morris at the 4. If not that, I think it'll be Kennard.
Okay.
What do you think?
Zubac feels like the safest answer. I feel like they just continue to try to go small, and it's Luke Kennard, even though Luke Kennard's got tiny dinosaur arms.
Yeah, it's one or the other for me. I think that's what we're looking at. If it's Terrence Mann, would I be shocked? Honestly, no. I wouldn't be shocked by any of these rotations or starting lineups at this point.
Look, if Luke Kennard starts, if Terrence Mann starts, even hell, if Patrick Beverley starts, all three of those guys at either the flat minimum or 3,100 become upper echelon value plays for today.
For sure. Do you think Mike Conley plays?
I left him out. I don't know what to do at this point with him other than leave him out.
So what are we doing with Donovan Mitchell, who's just been on an absolute tear? Outside of one game where he got hurt and it was a blowout, and he still had 30 points in 32 minutes.
I think he's fantastic. He was my number one contender on DraftKings prior to the Kawhi Leonard news. I don't mind the projected ownership at all. I'm a little bit more lukewarm on FanDuel at 9,700 just because you got to roster 2 shooting guards and it's an oddly deep position. But on DraftKings, Mitchell was top of the line for me. He's unquestionably my favorite guy from the Jazz. But I had a different number one contender on FanDuel today. And I think a lot of it has to do with Conley, but I like Jordan Clarkson at 5,300 on FanDuel today a lot. So much so that he was my number one contender today. Here's a question for you. They've played 4 games. What do you think Jordan Clarkson's plus minus is in the aggregate for this series? Because I know you haven't heard me say it yet today.
In 4 games?
Yeah.
His per game plus minus?
No, everything combined for the series.
All right.
I mean, if you want to say per game, yeah, we can multiply it by
That's
4
fine. We can take the aggregate. Plus 31.
Minus 50.
Oh, see, you threw me off. You're talking about him being good and everything, and he's a strong play. You got me. Is Clarkson really minus 50?
Minus 50 for the series.
Wow.
Per the Zach Lowe pod yesterday.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they have been getting absolutely body bags.
So minus 12 and a half minus 12 and a half each game.
Yeah, and they won 2 games.
Woo.
It's just hard to do. Yeah, it's not ideal. However, at 5,300, given the makeup of the position today, he is my favorite point guard today. So we got Trae Young at 10-4, like him a lot. Ben Simmons at 8,500, like him a lot. And it's Jordan Clarkson at 5,300, assuming no Mike Conley, and Reggie Jackson at 4,800. After that, you're paying down with the question marks. George Hill, Shake Milton, Pat Bev, Rondo. So you really only have 4 guys to get to. Paying down for Clarkson so that you can pay up at shooting guard for Donovan Mitchell and Paul George, and then pay up at center for Joel Embiid seems like the most logical roster construction for me today.
Okay. I like that price.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that price. Wow. Kawhi Leonard without timetable for return.
That sucks.
That really sucks. So here's the one thing I wanted to look up while you were talking about Clarkson. So 66% of his minutes have come with Donovan Mitchell on the floor in this postseason. Yeah. If you were to take, I'm assuming, right, if you were to take game 3 and extrapolate that where they were getting, let's see, Donovan Mitchell didn't play. Oh, no, okay, Jordan Clarkson played probably 5 minutes in that quarter that Mitchell would have played when he got hurt. So just say around about 70% of his minutes are going to come with Donovan Mitchell. I'm okay with that. I think it could be worse, but there is no doubt that Jordan Clarkson is going to cede a lot of work to Mitchell. Now, at the same time, his shot volume, his usage hasn't been bad. He's going to take a ton of threes, so the upside is there. But just realize, and you know this, obviously, and at 5,300, it's fine. He's not going to get to the line, and he's not going to give you peripherals. Jordan Clarkson needs to have just a bang-up day where he can't miss, and that can happen.
He has not shot a free throw in this series.
I know. which is weird because against Memphis, he at least got to the line a little bit.
He didn't miss a free throw against Memphis.
I know.
4-7, 3-4-3 in 5 games, made all of them. Hasn't taken one yet.
It's very weird, but he's attempted 14, 9, 9, and 8 threes in this series. So I'm okay with that. If Clarkson just has a banger and goes 8 of 10 for 3, he's going to play 30 plus minutes in a game like that. And, obviously that's a tough mark to hit, but he's done it before. He can get really hot really quick. We've seen him put up 25 points and a half, right? So I think it's doable. I'd rather Clarkson with Mitchell out than with Conley out, but I get that at 53. I don't want to go to 6,300 on DraftKings though.
No, not nearly as much. Although I will point out, it looks like we have Mike Conley in the ownership projections because we have Jordan Clarkson projected for 6% ownership, and that's just impossible.
Okay. Yeah, right. So we'll wait on Mike Conley. Of course, if Mike Conley's in, then everything changes. But Mike Conley's also not that expensive. I mean, he's only $500 more than Clarkson on DraftKings. What's he at on FanDuel today?
I didn't even look.
Mike Conley is 7,500.
Yeah.
All right, Josh. Oh, we're 8 away from 200. So get us there, fellas. Make us proud. Close out the Jazz for me.
Alrighty. Bojan Bogdanovic, 5,700 on FanDuel. I've already mentioned he's in one of those positions where you can only play basically 4 guys. You're going to play him in half your lineups if you're max entering. On DraftKings, also 5,700, playing about 36 minutes. Life should get a little bit easier now that there's no Kawhi Leonard on the opposite side of the floor. I'd say that he's probably my second favorite option as of right now. And again, I'm assuming that Mike Conley is not in. But I do think $7,400 Rudy Gobert looks pretty good on DK today. We've got him projected for 30% ownership. I actually had him in the optimal about 36% of the time. So that would be one spot where I would like to be a little bit over the field. We'll see where ownership comes in on Ingles and Clarkson as we move forward. For 6,300, I don't love Clarkson, but I think that he's going to go a little underrepresented, and that's fine with me at some point in time. Look, he's also going to get a little bit easier of a workload knowing that Kawhi Leonard is not a perimeter defender and they're turning that into Luke Kennard or Terrence Mann or whatever other awful guy that they're going to plug in for not one of the 3 best players on the planet.
Yeah, you're right. Let's close it with this question, Josh. And remember, all of these shows you guys can check out in podcast form over at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is. And if you want to win a free month of Awesemo Plus, we have many ways to do it, but leave a rating and a review if you like it with your email or your Twitter handle, and we'll reach out to you. We do a drawing every week, every Friday, I believe it is. So check it out on podcast form. If you don't want to do it on YouTube, you don't want to put your phone in your pocket with the screen on, maybe you don't have YouTube Premium, and hit us with a rating or review if you want to put yourself in the running, or if you just like the show. It's all appreciated. So let's close it with this question. Double R, our boy Double R, a member here on the YouTubes. Hit that join below if you want to join the YouTube, become a member of the Awesemo or Team Awesemo. Are you guys concerned the Jazz run away with this game? So I think it's at least fair to answer this, because even if you are concerned about that, Josh, you don't really have much of an option. There's only 2 games on this slate. It's possible that if Embiid's fine, the Sixers could run away with that game against Atlanta. They did it 2 games in a row.
They have the same line right now.
Right. Exactly. But here's the biggest thing. In the playoffs, they could run away with it. And unless it's like game 2, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, 50-point differential at the end of 3, Paul George might only lose 4 minutes and still play 40. So for that reason, no, I'm not worried.
No, not at all. But yeah, as of right now, at every book I'm looking at, it's either 6.5 or 7 for both of these games. So, they are both as likely to be blowouts.
What's Utah at now?
I see Utah at 7, Philly at 6.5.
Okay. Yep.
At the place that I would want to look.
Gabriel says, is Rudy, with the super chat, is Rudy a better play if Zubac starts?
Yes.
You
but
think
it's incremental.
Why do you think so?
Because he gets to do more normal Rudy Gobert stuff and less different stuff by playing small.
The crazy thing is, though, he's averaging more rebound chances in this series than he did in the regular season.
That makes sense.
He's just not getting a lot of them.
Yeah. That makes sense. He should be.
Right. Well, that's what, while people are worried about him being pulled away from the basket, I'm saying, like, Distance of average rebound is still the same. Rebound chances was it like 27 per game last I looked. Rudy just hasn't played all that well in this series from a DFS perspective. I think soon you're going to have one of those games where he just goes off. But the problem is he's not playing playoff minutes, Josh.
No, he's not. 34, 35, something along those
30,
lines. Yeah.
32.
Which is fine. The Clippers are a pretty unique matchup for him. I'm just still wondering how this ripple effects guy can even type.
What are you trying to say?
Just surprised is all.
Yeah, he's a lovely character.
No.
I don't know why people who hate us so much want to stay for the entire hour and 15 minutes.
Because we're awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, we must just have really wonderful personalities. Because if we don't know basketball, according to a few people, but you're still here.
Yeah, him, by the way.
That only says good things about us.
It does, yeah. It absolutely does.
Thanks for producing the show, brother. Appreciate you. Thanks to all of you guys. You're the best. We'll see you back here soon on the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. This has been fun. Let's do it again tomorrow. What do you say? And then Friday. That'll be the last Strategy Show for NBA. I said that a while ago. I thought we were switching up. We made some pivots. Friday will legitimately be the last NBA strategy show we do. But hopefully sooner or later, Josh and I will be back on him, even if it's for MLB, man.
Hell yeah. Can't wait, man. Can't wait.
Catch you guys back here soon. Cue that music, Jordan. We out.